So Storybook Brawl is an auto-battler card game that has quickly become probably my favorite game right now. I've played over 100 hours of it. It's my game that I just continually keep going back to. Maybe slightly addicted, but who's to pass judgment here? I guess me, because I'm calling myself out. So this is my beginner's guide. Call it the Master Class, if you will, of Storybook Brawl. All of the basics that you need to know, so let's get into it. So the first thing you do when the game starts out is you choose which hero you want to play. Each hero has a completely different ability, and which hero you choose is greatly going to affect the way that the game plays. So there's always going to be 4 different heroes to choose from at the start of the game. The first 2 on the far left, these are always going to be unlocked and available for you to play. The second 2, these may or may not be unlocked depending on which heroes you've unlocked. So basically how it works, the one on the very far left, this is always a rotating set of pretty standard, easy to grasp heroes that have a basic ability. Not that they're any weaker, but they are more simple to grasp. Abilities like +1 to +1 to all of your good units, etc., etc. The one next to that, that is a revolving hero that is from the pool of all of the other heroes in the game that aren't the standard cast of heroes that start out. And then the far 2 right heroes, this is the pool of all of the other heroes in the game. So basically how it works, once you unlock a hero, then anytime you see it available in the game, you can play that hero. So once you unlock Fallen Angel, for instance, anytime it's offered in any of these spots, you can play that hero. You can unlock heroes either with fairy dust, which is the in-game currency, or you can spend money to purchase gems in the game, and then you can unlock heroes that way as well. So as you can see here, I don't have Pan's Shadow unlocked, but if I were to purchase it with gems or dust, then anytime that it's available to me in the future, whenever it's offered, then I can play that hero. So once you've chosen your hero, the gameplay loop is pretty straightforward. Basically how it works, you battle against 8 other players. Everyone starts with 40 health, except for Grandma, of course, who starts with 50 health, who has to make everything difficult. And you battle until everyone's eliminated except for 1 player who gets the crown of the lobby. The good news is though, if you're in the top 4 players, so the top 50%, that's considered a win, and you'll get rewards based on your performance. Finishing higher up, of course, gives you better rewards, so you always want to try and get first, but rest assured, if you make it to top 4 at least, you can consider that a win. Pat yourself on the back because you did great. Who you battle next is determined randomly by the game, but you can look over in the sidebar. There's a little line underneath a character portrait. Whoever's got that little line, that's your next opponent, so you know who you're going to be facing in the next battle at least. So this is important to take into consideration when planning your army. You'll want to try and remember what other people are playing so that when you go against them, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to be facing, so you can position your units better, sometimes put in tech choices and whatnot. It really adds another layer of strategy to the game, and is another reason this game has a really high skill ceiling. So let's talk about the gameplay itself, how to build up your army, and how to win in your lobbies. So the economy in this game is pretty straightforward. Basically how it works, you start the game with 2 gold that you can use to buy characters and spells, and at the start of every subsequent turn, you get 1 gold added to your pile up into a maximum of 12 gold. So on the first turn, you have 2 gold to spend, on the second turn you have 3, next one you have 4th, onward and so forth. Each character has a gold cost equal to its level in order to buy it. So a level 2 character costs 2 gold, a level 3 character costs 3 gold, and so on and so forth as well. You also have options to buy spells. So spells are a one-time unique effect that only happen for that next battle. They can range from a whole bunch of different powerful effects, anything from buffing one of your units permanently, buffing a unit for just that round, hitting one of your enemies for 30 damage. There's a whole bunch of different spells. Spells are very, very powerful, but you can only cast 1 spell a turn unless the spell specifically states otherwise. So there's some spells that have you gain 1 health and then you can cast another spell and etc. But in general, you can only cast 1 spell a turn. If you don't like the options that are given to you in your shop, you can spend 1 gold to re-roll the shop. If you look at the top left, there's a little re-roll button. It costs 1 gold, and if you click that, it'll get rid of the entire cast and spells that are in your shop, and it'll replace them with a new cast of characters and new spells. On the polar opposite of this, if you do like what's in the shop, but you can't afford something, you can lock the shop. So if you look in the top right, there's a little lock icon. If you click that, it'll lock the shop. So then when you start your next turn, anything that was locked, and it'll show a little chain icon, those stay there so that you can purchase it later. The level of characters that you're given options to buy in your shop are determined by your character level. How experience works in this game is at the end of every single fight, you get 1 extra experience, and it's 3 experience to level up. So if you're a level 3 hero, you'll start to see 3 gold characters. If you're a level 4 hero, you'll start to see 4 gold characters, and up until the maximum character level of 6. 6 gold characters are the most powerful ones that you can find, so once you're level 6, that's as high as your hero can go. So that's the natural progression of experience, but just kind of like with every rule that I'm going to tell you, there's a way to break it. Some characters have effects that'll give you more experience when they do things. There are certain spells that also give you more experience as well. So it's important to look out for these, because if you're trying to level up really fast, you might want to be on the lookout for these as well. Certain heroes really benefit from being higher levels faster than others. So it's just kind of important to keep this in mind when you're playing, if you're really trying to get up to a higher level faster than everyone, in order to make use of these more powerful, 5 and 6 gold characters. So the characters that you can buy from are also from a shared pool of characters across the entire lobby. So if 2 people are going the exact same build trying to get the same characters, it's going to be harder for you to find those because they've already bought all of those as well. So this is important to keep in mind when you are playing against other players and you see what other people are doing. If everyone's trying to force the same composition as you are, it's going to be harder for you to find those. So when you are rolling around looking for a certain character and you can't find it, it could be because everyone's doing the same thing as you, so you might want to change your strategy. That's another reason why sometimes it's good to level up faster than people, is so that you can get those higher level characters before them so that they're not in the pool for them to take. You can also sell back a character you don't want to use anymore, or if you don't have space for it. Anytime you sell back a character, you get 1 gold back, except for the chicken, which is a unique one, and its special abilities it sells for 2 gold. So you don't get full value from the characters when you sell them, but at least you get a little bit of something back. This is something you can remember if you want to hold on to things to save money. If you're at the end of the turn and you just have some extra money laying around and you don't want to roll it because there's no point, you can just buy something so that you can bank that extra gold and put it on the bench that you have in the back. So there's a spot behind your backline that's 4 spots, and this is what I'm going to call your bench. And so basically what this is a spot where you can keep 4 characters out of battle, and so characters that are on the bench are not going to be active participants in the next battle. You can use this to save characters that you're wanting to build for later, or if you're trying to just save characters to preserve extra gold. You can kind of use this however you want, especially if you're trying to test different things in your composition to see if it works in the next battle, to see if something more or less strong, or those tech cards I was talking about. There are certain characters that are like very effective against other units, and you'll learn these all as you play. I don't want to get too deep into that, as this is just a beginner's guide of the basics, but maybe I'll make an advanced player's guide later on to kind of talk about these different things you can do. But the bench is where you can hold things that aren't going to be active participants in battle. Another really important thing to remember is any unspent gold you haven't used is wasted. So gold in this game is use it or lose it. So make sure you're making the most of your money that you have and spend every cent. Just like in real life, you should spend all of your money. That's not good advice. Don't listen to that. But remember, it's use it or lose it with gold. So spend it all. So the next thing to know is when you buy 3 of any one specific character, they will level up into an upgraded version of that character with more attack, more defense, extra abilities, but more importantly, you'll get a treasure equal to that character's level. What treasures are passive abilities that you can see on the left. You can hold up to 3 treasures, and these are very powerful buffs that stay with you throughout the game. These can range from simple effects such as getting extra money every round or giving all of your characters 1 health, but there are some crazy powerful treasures that can do things like giving 100 attack to your first character, or anytime one of your evil characters dies, it'll do 3 damage to a random enemy. Treasures are super powerful, and they can really shape the game itself. Getting a powerful treasure early can oftentimes just steamroll you into the late game or even win itself outright. The level of treasure you get is determined by the character that leveled up. So if you have a level 2 character that levels up, you'll get a level 2 treasure. If you have a level 5 character that levels up, you'll get a level 5 treasure. Now, the highest level of character that you can get is a level 6 character, but there are level 7 treasures. There are a few ways to get these. They're very hard to get, not usually worth chasing, but if you're a character like Horde Dragon, the passive ability that he has is anytime you get a treasure, it's 1 level higher. So if you get a level 6 treasure, it's actually a level 7 treasure. There's also some treasures where their ability itself is the next treasure you pick is 1 or 2 levels higher. So if you are gunning for these higher level treasures, those are things that you can kind of look out for. So looking at the characters themselves, you can see a lot of important information when you're inspecting the card. So the gold value of a character is in the top left corner. It'll show you how much gold that character character costs to buy, which also tells you the level of the character. Every character also has an attack and a health value. The attack value is on the left. That shows you how much damage it does in combat, and the health is how much damage it can take before it dies in combat. The text box in the middle will also tell you what type of character it is. There's a whole bunch of different tribes or archetypes or classes that you want to call them in this game. There's things like animals, princesses, mages, monsters, dragons. There's a whole bunch of different things. As you play it, you'll realize that there's different synergies for each of these. But just for this beginner's guide, know that the type of character that it is important. Some characters also have an alignment, be it good or evil. You can also see this by the frame of the card. If it's a purple frame, it's going to be an evil character. If it's a gold frame, it's going to be a good character. And if it's a silver frame, it's just a neutral character. Not everything has an alignment, but some do. And alignment becomes important for different heroes themselves. Like Mrs. Claus, for instance, gives all of your good characters +1/+1, so you're incentivized to play good characters. There's also certain characters themselves that synergize with good or evil. Like the Evil Queen, anytime one of your evil characters dies, she gets a bonus. So it's just important to keep in mind whether you're playing a composition that cares about alignment. Some do, some don't, but you can see that right on the card itself at first glance, and it's really easy to kind of tell if something's good or evil. When you're placing down your characters onto the battlefield, positioning is very, very important in this game. So you'll see that you have 4 spots in the front to place them. This is your front line, and you have 3 spots in the back to place them. This is your back line. When combat happens, your units attack from left to right, starting with the front line first and then going to the back line. If a unit doesn't have any attack value, they do not attack the other enemy, but they can still be attacked and take damage. What unit your character attacks itself is random, and that's where the term Autobattler comes from, is the battle happens automatically. But you get to determine what order they attack in, which is very, very important. There are also certain characters that have an ability called support. So what support is if this character is in the back line, the 2 allies in front of it get a support bonus. You can see this with something like Baby Root that grants extra health to the front 2 in it. It'll say support plus health, or something like Mad Mim that does the opposite where it gives attack instead of health. When a character attacks the other team and hits another character, they both do their attack damage to each other. So you'll see when one of my allies attacks the enemy, they'll both take damage equal to both of their attack value. Unless, of course, the unit has what's called ranged. What ranged is something with ranged deals their attack to the enemy, but does not take damage back equal to the enemy's attack. All of this is super important when you're thinking of your positioning, especially if you have fragile, powerful units. You'll probably want to put those in the back line, or things that get bigger inside of combat. So if you have something like a bearded vulture that says anytime one of your animals dies, it gets bigger, you'll want to put that in the back with all of your other animals in front of it, so that those animals will get attacked and attack and die, and that'll slowly get bigger over the course of the fight. There are certain abilities that when they trigger in combat will give you bonuses for just that combat phase, but there's also abilities that will trigger permanent buffs on those characters. There's also a mechanic called Slay, and how that works is if that character is the attacker and kills something while attacking, it'll get a bonus. It'll say like Slay something. So keep in mind, if you have a very, very powerful Slay effect, you'll probably want to position that so it attacks first, so it has a better chance of getting the bonus when it kills something while attacking. I don't want to overcomplicate combat, but the last one that I want to point out that's important is called flying. And what flying does, you'll see this on dragons and things like Cupid. If something has flying, it flies over the front line and attacks the back line directly. So earlier when I was saying it's important to keep in mind what your opponents are playing, if you are playing against someone that has a lot of flying units, you might not want to put your fragile units in the back, and you'll actually want to swap them around so that the flyers don't take them out at the start of combat. At the end of every battle, the winning hero does damage equal to the losing hero. So how the damage is calculated, whatever your hero level is, you do that much damage to the enemy. So if you're level 4, you'll do 4 damage base to the enemy, but you'll also do 1 extra damage for every remaining character that you have on board, and for any upgraded characters you have on board, you'll deal 3 damage to the enemy. This can lead to a lot of times where if you get to kind of high roll the early game and you have a lot of characters on board who are upgraded and hard to kill, you can really start taking out the opposing heroes. So that's how damage is calculated. If you're wondering why you took so much damage after a fight, there it is. So really, those are the basics of the game. That's all of the basic core things that you need to learn in order to play the game, and then play it more and more until you get better. But I did want to leave you with a few little extra tips that'll kind of help you out in your journey as you're playing the game, especially if you are newer to Autobattlers, just some general like Autobattler tips for you. The first big one is you can play against the AI to kind of learn things. I know a lot of people get like ladder anxiety or anxiety playing against others, especially when learning a new game. So something really, really cool is you can just play against the computer, and in the AI mode, you have unlimited amounts of time to read all the cards, read the heroes, the treasures, and kind of really get a feel for what you're doing before you're placed against other players where there is a time limit and you have to kind of worry about what you're doing and the stress of playing against others. So your first handful of games, honestly, just play against the computer. You still get rewards for winning, although it is less than if you play against other people, but it still gives you more fairy dust that you can use to unlock heroes down the road. Another thing that's really cool and to kind of remember is if you look at the main menu, you can actually look at the collection of the game where you can see all of the different characters, all of the heroes, and all of the treasures that are in the game. This way you can kind of check those out, learn what they do. If you faced against a hero and can't remember what they do necessarily, or if you can't remember like the higher level characters, etc., or what the big one is, like what level treasures everything is. So if you're looking for a specific treasure and can't remember what level it is, you can go in here to kind of look at those and see what they all do. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see new players do in all auto battlers, including Storybook Brawl, is rolling the shop too often. If you're spending money, if you're spending your gold to roll the shop, so you're spending the 1 gold to refresh the shop, that's essentially just wasted money. Especially early to mid game, you don't have a whole lot of gold to spend. So if you're spending 1 of your 3 gold to roll the shop, that's only giving you 2 gold to buy a character. Generally, just playing in the early game, just playing the strongest units that you have available, even if they don't synergize with your hero power or they don't synergize with your current comp, just getting the most powerful stuff out is going to save you a lot of damage early on in the game. So if you're just rolling the shop, that's money that you could be using to buy these higher level characters, especially when you're getting to level 3, 4, and 5. Those turns where you can get a level 3 character, even if it's not ideal for what you're trying to do, a lot of times it will give you more power on the board and help you win those early fights. So even if you're not offered any good characters and you are playing as Mrs. Claus, it's probably wrong to just roll early on for those good characters instead of just buying the most powerful characters that you have offered to you at the time. You will lose a lot of battles rolling for no reason, trying to find specific things versus just putting out the most powerful things that you can at the time. Another tip is try not to lock the shop unless you're locking for a very, very specific integral character to your comp and you need it. And the big times for this is especially when you're about to level up. So when your hero levels up, you're gonna have access to those higher level characters. And if you lock the shop the turn before, you're gonna have less opportunities to get those higher level characters. This is really, really important to remember because those higher level characters are so powerful. So if you lock the shop the turn you're about to turn level 3, you may not see any level 3 characters available to you. So unless you're locking for something specifically, when you're about to level up, a lot of times it's right to just not lock the shop so that you get those more access to the higher level characters. I think my final tip that I have is a lot of times chasing those triples of units can be wrong if it means locking at inopportune times or wasting a lot of money to do so. I'm super guilty of this. I love tripling units. I love treasures. I think it's very, very cool and fun. But a lot of times if you're locking the shop a whole lot trying to get these triples for units, especially just non-integral units to your composition, it's usually incorrect and you're gonna lose a lot of tempo by doing so. There are times though when it's completely right. Certain heroes themselves need specific units to really function. Like Sad Dracula, for instance, right now really wants Shadow Assassins, so locking for those and trying to get those tripled obviously makes a lot of sense. Or if you're playing the King Lion, obviously getting your triples of the Royals because it gets bonus for those, that's correct. But if you're just locking for triples of everything, you're gonna be losing a lot of tempo in doing so when you could just be buying better units with higher quality anyways. Another tip is getting to a higher level early is very important when you can do so. Oftentimes, sacrificing a little tempo to level up earlier by taking like a treasure that gives you extra experience is generally right, because if you are ahead in level of the lobby, you're getting access to these higher level characters before anyone else, and it's a really good way to snowball into victories, especially when it comes to level 5 and 6 characters. Their abilities are very, very powerful. So if you're able to get to level 5 and 6 before everyone, and you start getting these characters before them, especially if you're able to start getting triples of them, you'll definitely snowball the game. So sometimes it honestly is okay to lose a round, especially if you're ahead, if it means being able to level up before people. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. Experience is very important, and it's just as much a currency as gold. So yeah, those are all the basics I can think of for Storybook Brawl. Again, I've been absolutely having a blast with this game. I love it so much. If you want more advanced player tips, let me know. If this helped you, let me know. Write me in the comments, let me know how I did. These are all the thoughts that I had in my first 100 hours or so of the game. And these are the questions that I get asked a lot while streaming the game. So hopefully this helped you out. And if it did, let me know, because I need a little pat on the back every once in a while as well. Thank you so much for watching this. I appreciate it very much. Hopefully it helped again. I love you very, very, very much. And until next time, you stay saucy. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe, hit the little bell notification, and help me destroy the YouTube algorithm overlords by leaving a comment and liking this video. I appreciate you very much. You're amazing, and until next time, you stay saucy.